and to talk to you about your kids and talk to them if they're going to be a mentor with us. They'd go through an interview process. It's not extremely cutthroat, but it is really good for building those skills. And there's a whole lot built into that program. So our work is in the community. We get together once a month. It's always supervised, so there are always numerous facilitators there. Our kids are never getting together without being in our eyesight. And we're doing community service projects, so we do a lot of really good things, and it's been very fun. Last month we were actually at the Boys and Girls Club getting together with some members of our Healing Paws, our canine community, the dogs that come to BMC and help work with patients, and we were assembling donations to be given to the MSPCA. So that's just one thing, but we're out and about everywhere. And so if you're interested in TEAM, there is a sign-up sheet that Diane also has that you can sign your name to, and you can check off, I want to hear more about TEAM, I want to hear more about PLAN, or I just want to be on your emails and I want to get your information. I would encourage you all, do you all use email or like to get things by email? Raise your hand if you do. Okay, all right, so that's good to know. So I would encourage you all to sign up for our general information at least. That would mean you're getting onto our email list. We produce a lot of resources, and we don't like to send people too many emails, because I know I don't like to get too many emails, but when we send them, we think they're important. One email that's going to go out next week is going to be a link to our summer guide, which is a resource that was developed in our office. So it has lists of all kinds of camps with information and what you need to know about them, what they cost, what you get for them, things to do around the city, water safety, things to do in your home. So it's a really nice guide, and we really tailored it to families here. There are many guides out there, and you may have read plenty of them, but they're pretty big and have a lot more information you might need. So anyway, not to dismiss any others, we like our guide. That's something that you would get. That's a kind of typical resource that we have and we send out. So anyway, that's me and a quick hello. And if you want to be in touch for any other reason, our contact is all over all the information that you're getting there. So actually, no, there's one more thing I wanted to say, which is that we are initiating what we're calling our community hotline. So we have a phone line that comes into our office for people just looking for answers to questions related to autism and autism resources. And so that community hotline information, I didn't bring flyers for everything because I just think they get thrown out. But in our email blast that we're sending next week will be our community hotline phone number. So, so again, that would be something that, you know, we have, I don't know, we have a lot of knowledge, we like to share it. So if you have questions, you probably do. I'm a parent, I have questions. It's one avenue to go down to try to get some answers.
Just for the camera, could you introduce yourself again in the base program?
Oh, yes, hi. Sherry King from the Autism Program at Boston Medical Center.
Very good.
Any questions? Yes.
Regarding about the information, are we able to get it online?
Yes. Yes. So we have a website which is probably, hopefully, listed on there.
This one?
Well, so that's my colleague, and that's her email. Our website is not on there. I apologize for that. It is the bmcautismprogram.org. bmcautismprogram.org. And you can also, if you go to the Boston Medical Center website and type in autism in the search bar, or go to pediatrics, and then you'll see us listed. You can get to us that way. Hi.
Is it just pediatric, your program? Like, what's the upper?
Yeah. So really, so we are based in our developmental pediatric clinic, which means that we typically serve adolescents up until kind of adulthood, so 22-ish. And the reason for that is that, number one, it's where our expertise lies, and number two, that when we get involved really in sort of direct work with families, it's in conjunction with their being followed by a clinician who is kind of watching and making recommendations and, you know, advising. So we're really helping to sort of support all of that. And we have developmental behavioral pediatric providers who we're working with. Other questions? Okay. You have all our stuff, so.
If anyone has already completed this form, you can give it to Sherry. If you haven't completed, I can take it afterwards and I'll get it to her. So.
Great, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you.
So Sherry had mentioned that my daughter takes part in the teen program, and she's 19. It's a great program. It takes place once a month on Saturdays. She loves going because she herself has a disability, but she's matched up with someone her own age who doesn't have a disability, so they're co-mentoring someone, so it's giving her those leadership skills that she really needs, but she's also feels like she's included and she has a friend when she goes. So I highly recommend that program. It's really terrific, and it's all set up, and they're doing work in the community, like Sherry said, you know, putting together care packages for different people, so they're doing really good work. So thank you, Sherry. So next I want to introduce Seth Bartholomew. He's from Boston Public Schools. He's an assistant director. Sorry, Seth, the titles change frequently. He's going to talk about what Boston is doing in terms of autism.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here tonight. I just want to give a quick update. I won't take much time. I know that we have a lot of really good information to share around a number of things. One thing I wanted to mention is that we continue to have our two contract agencies that we partner with, both RCS and the May Institute, to provide ABA services. We also continue to partner with the New England Center for Children for the Autism Curriculum Encyclopedia that we use in all of our autism-trained classrooms. I also wanted to let you know that we are starting a new partnership with a company called Aspire, and they're based out of Mass General Hospital. And that partnership is going to be focusing on working with the social thinking curriculum, and we're piloting right now in 2 schools, and we're planning to expand that next year into additional schools. We also, part of that partnership is also going to include some district-wide training for our teachers. So we're really excited about that partnership as it moves forward. Additionally, I wanted to let you know that in years past, I've explained to you that we do our regular structured site visits for our autism programming, or for the substantially separate autism programs. Those site visits include at least one of our program directors for ABA, who is a BCBA. We have speech and language pathologists and OTs that attend those site visits, along with the principal and any other relevant leadership members that are part of that school community. What that means, what we do during those site visits is we go into each classroom and we spend about 15 to 20 minutes observing the classroom. And we've come up with, in years past, we've used optimal characteristics, and this year we've adjusted those based on feedback that we've gotten from the schools in response to our feedback. And so we're now looking at key performance indicators for each classroom that we go into. So again, we do a very similar process where we go in and we observe for 15 to 20 minutes, and then we sit down as a team and debrief at the end and talk about what we saw, specifically around the key performance indicators. And there's a few categories that I'll just share them with you. So one of them is educator resources, and what we're looking at there is like evidence of ongoing parent communication, educator schedules, student schedules, communication profiles, program books, data collection, all of those things. Looking to make sure that those are all included in each one of the classrooms. And again, we'll give feedback to each classroom teacher based on these key performance indicators. The second area is classroom climate and the physical environment. So we're looking at age-appropriate materials and furniture and making sure that instruction is deliberate and planful. We're also looking at skill acquisition and behavior reduction programs, making sure that those types of programs are activated and are being run for all of the students in those classrooms. So the specific things we look for there are evidence of systematic instruction, evidence of individualized instruction, and documented and planned instruction in all areas, including social skills and academics. Another area we look at is increasing communication, so making sure that we're targeting communication skills for all of the students in our classrooms. And then finally, fostering independence. That's really the goal of all special education, is to improve independence for all of our students. We really want our students to be able to function independently, and in that vein, we're working to build the skills that students need to function independently and to access the curriculum in the least restrictive environment. So that's my update for today. Does anybody have questions for me? Yes?
What qualifies for ABA?
There are a few different levels for ABA qualification. The certification board is the Behavior Analytics Certification Board, and that's a national certification. And they provide different levels of certification. So the highest level of certification is a
services. ABA
qualification for services. Oh, okay. I thought you were asking about the certification for someone to provide ABA services. So in Boston Public Schools, what we're doing is we're really trying to embed the principles of applied behavior analysis into each one of the classrooms, especially in the autism strand classrooms or the substantially separate classrooms. We do a lot of training with our classroom teachers and our paraprofessionals to implement the principles of applied behavior analysis across the day. We've invested over a couple of years, 3 or 4 years actually, in an ELMS cohort partnership where a number of our classroom teachers and the strand specialists had an opportunity to get coursework that led to their BCBA. And what that means is that the principles can be implemented across the school day. One of the things that I think a lot of people understand about applied behavior analysis is that it's this thing that happens over there. And what we really know about applied behavior analysis is that it's most effective when it's utilized across the school day. And so if you think about like everyday activities, things that you do at home, right? So if your child engages in positive behavior and you say, "Good job, way to go," that you're using the principles of applied behavior analysis. And that's why ABA is so effective, is because we use things that are motivating to our children, right? And we use those things to help encourage positive behaviors. So, but I think specifically you're probably asking about how does a student qualify or become requiring direct ABA services. And for that we have a process that we follow through the IEP process. We do what's called an ABA evaluation. And that ABA evaluation can be requested through your IEP team, and then one of our program directors for ABA would complete that evaluation, which includes a classroom observation and a standardized, not really a test, but an assessment, a protocol that they'll follow. They'll also interview the classroom teacher and review records. And based on all of those components, they'll come up with a recommendation for specific services for that student.
Okay, because I have a question. We had like a student, and they kind of, she's 9 now, so she lost a lot of her services because she aged out of a lot of programs that she was getting at home and whatever. So now she's kind of, it's nothing.
Okay, I'd be happy to speak with you about the individual case. Yep. Any other questions?
One question there. My name is Juan Bernal. I am the interpreter.
I'm sorry?
I am a medical interpreter. I am interpreting for a Spanish-speaking mother right here. I did work as a medical interpreter at the Boston Medical Center for 2 years. Basically, her question is, she has a boy, a 3-year-old boy, who was diagnosed with a developmental delay. She is not very sure what are the main characteristics of autism. How do you know when your kid is autistic if you don't know if a formal diagnosis has not been given? How do you identify those characteristics?
Yes, so I would definitely recommend that the child be assessed for autism. So I would not be the person to make that assessment, but we look at specific areas. So atypical behaviors, we look at a lack of communication, a lack of social skills, and that type of thing. So, but I would definitely recommend that if you have a concern about a diagnosis of autism, that you get a formal evaluation to determine that. Any other questions? Yep.
Thank
What's
you.
the encyclopedia resource?
It's called the Autism Curriculum Encyclopedia, and it's a web-based tool that we use in our autism strands. It includes an assessment component where we do what's called a core skills assessment or a skills assessment, depending on the skill level of the student. That then, we plug that information back into the web-based tool, and we use that information to help us come up with specific skills that need to be targeted for that student. Leads into the next component of the platform, which is the actual curriculum. And there's a bank of curriculum that we use to teach specific skills, and that's very specific information about how we're going to teach every skill. And then the third component is the analysis, or the analysis of how the program is working, which is a really important component of applied behavior analysis. It allows us to know that a program is either working or is not working.
And that's being used system-wide?
It is used in all of our autism substantially separate classrooms. Yes.
Is that system, is that accessible to the parents?
So the data from those programs is accessible to the parents. The actual programs themselves are not, because they require a lot of training to be able to implement them. So we don't send the programs home. If there is a home team of providers, we're happy to share we're happy to share the intervention and how we're teaching that skill with parents and with anyone that's working with a child in the home or in the community. We absolutely share the interventions and the way that we're working, but the actual tool itself does not go home.
Because the main concern that I have is being able to, well, I'm not going to say get an exact copy, but maybe something about the curriculum for the sake of continuity.
Yes, absolutely, and we do work with families to make sure that we are able to provide continuity with the programming. Absolutely. Other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, thank you.
So from Mass Advocates, we have Leslie Hughes, who's going to present on one of the newest laws, the Autism Omnibus Law. So this is, well, she'll tell you, it's very condensed right now because of time constraints, but we will offer this full presentation at the Boys and Girls Club of Dorchester, where I work. It's a 2-hour presentation, so if you're interested in the full presentation, we're going to give you the condensed version tonight. We're going to be sending out an email through SpedPac about that workshop as well. So.
Hi, how's everybody doing? Good. I'm going to start talking about the Omnibus Law, but first I want to tell you a little bit about MAC really quick, from Mass Advocates for Children. And we are a private, nonprofit child advocacy organization. We've been around for over 45 years. And the main mission of MAC is to be an effective voice for children who face significant life and educational opportunity barriers like discrimination or poverty, disability. And we go about meeting our goals using a multi-pronged approach. So we do several different things at MAC. One thing we have is a helpline for anybody in Massachusetts to call and get information about special education, autism, and special education, IEPs and all that. We also do trainings like this one for parents and for professionals who work with children with autism. We have several different trainings that we do. We're a small legal office, kind of non-traditional in that respect. We're very small. And then what we do is we take all the information that we get from parents and professionals, from our helpline, from our trainings, from our cases, and we work with the legislature to develop and pass bills for laws for kids with autism, and several of our laws have been for all disabilities, but we do have some specific autism laws. So that's about MAC. Now a little bit about me. I've been at MAC for a while, and I'm also a parent of a 16-year-old boy with autism. I've been doing this for a while, and every time I say his age, it's just really amazing. It was just yesterday that I was saying I had a 6-year-old with autism, but he's a wonderful kid. So let's start talking about the Autism Omnibus Law. As Diane said, this normally is a full. Some of the things in this law are very, very particular items, and I'm not an expert in those areas, and I'll certainly let you know that. And the handout that you have, I'm not going to follow it, so please don't try to follow along. I'm going to be using some of it, but not a lot of it. So that's for you for a resource. And like Diane said, when we do this at the Boys and Girls Club, it'll be a full presentation, and you'll get all of the details. It's a lot of details. So the Autism Omnibus Law, it was passed in August of 2014, about 1.5 years ago. And the reason this law came to be, I'll give you a little bit of a background. Governor Deval Patrick in 2010 established the Autism Commission. The Autism Commission was made up of a lot of different individuals and very knowledgeable about autism in all different entities. And the Autism Commission's job was to look at programs and services for children and adults with autism throughout all ages, and to try to find out what the gaps were. What are the gaps in services? What were the barriers? And then to come up with some recommendations around the problems that were found. So in 2013, the Autism Commission put out their report, and this omnibus law is based on the recommendations, the findings and recommendations from that report. So that's a little history of why and where the law came from. The omnibus law is actually 6 different laws rolled into one. I'm going to talk about each law in a quick fashion, and some of these laws, some are not quite ready yet. Once the law is passed, there's a time period, and then the entities that are responsible for carrying out the services have to develop regulations. And in some cases, the regulations aren't quite done yet for various reasons. And when things change and the regulations are out, we're definitely going to redo our workshop to make sure you always have the current information. So that said, the major components are, I'm going to list them, then I'm going to go into them individually. The first one requires Mass Health to cover medically necessary treatments for children with autism. There's the creation of a tax-free savings account. There's also the creation of an autism endorsement for teachers. The Department of Mental Health and the Department of Developmental Services has to develop a plan for adults with mental illness and developmental disabilities. There's also a change in the criteria for eligibility for adults with autism, and also the Autism Commission, which I talked about, is now becoming a permanent entity, so that entity is going to be permanent. So let's start. I'm going to talk about the Mass Health piece, and I'm going to do this in a way with what the problems talking about the problems that the Autism Commission found. And the Autism Commission found, and this is not news to probably anybody here, is that parents and people with Mass Health were excluded from the benefits of the state autism law. You all may be familiar with ERICA, which is the state law enacted relative to insurance coverage for autism. I may have messed that up, but it's ERICA. And this law came about several years ago, and it folks with private insurance, the insurance companies have to cover services for autism. Well, that's great. That's fantastic. But if you just had Mass Health did not cover services for autism. So the law now makes it so that Mass Health has to cover medically necessary ABA, and you can also get communication devices covered, such tablets such as iPads. I think that was, oh yeah, okay, so another important thing about that too is some people have Mass Health as a primary insurance, some people have it as a secondary insurance. You will get coverage for the ABA and the communication devices if you have primary or if you have secondary. So no matter if you have some form of Mass Health, the standard Mass Health, Common Health, or Family Assistance, you should get coverage for ABA and other types of devices if it's medically necessary. In my long presentation, I talk a little bit more about how to do that. So, because there are, of course, if you're dealing with Mass Health, you're going to have a few steps to have to go through to get coverage. And I'm being sarcastic. It's probably more than a few steps usually for Mass Health. So, applied behavioral analysis, ABA. So who can provide ABA coverage? Well, the person providing ABA has to be a licensed applied behavior analyst, and we just got licensure in this state. Professionals in applied behavioral analysis usually, they have a certification called the BCBA, Board Certified Behavioral Analyst. Now we have licensure, I have a hard time with that word. So the person delivering the therapy has to be licensed, or the person delivering the therapy has to be supervised by a licensed professional. So if you have a paraprofessional providing the direct therapy, as long as there is a licensed individual with these qualifications supervising, then that's good. AAC is augmentative and alternative communication, and AAC devices are used. Does anybody here have kids or use a communication device? Okay, so the AAC are communication devices used by people who are nonverbal or have limited speech, and there's a couple of different types of AAC. There's low tech and high tech. Low tech, it's just exactly what it sounds like. Low tech. Things like pictures or picture exchange communication systems, or communication boards or books, things that are not don't use technology. Then there's high tech, which are devices that produce speech. And for this law, it's not just autism, it's all disabilities. And right now, it's just covering children. But later, so the regulations aren't completely done for this law, there's just a little bit, but later it's going to cover adults who need have medically necessary needs for this type of device. So before changes to the law, Mass Health did cover communication devices. And these are called dedicated communication devices. They were dedicated only to communication. I don't know if Dynavox or companies would provide these devices. Very, very expensive. Now Mass Health is covering communication tablets, such as iPads. And there's a few steps that needs to happen. And also, if the person is found medically, if it's medically necessary, they do cover the software as well. So the process for getting an AAC device or a tablet, it's great about iPads is that a lot of people, a lot of kids use iPads. And for a person with autism or any person that needs a device such as this, using it, it's not as stigmatizing because it's a device that lots of people use. And it's cool and it's fun. The device is supposed to use for communication only, which includes texting, no, email. I think it's texting as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, because that is communication. So that is pretty cool. So to get an AAC device such as this, there's a few steps. There has to be a referral for an evaluation. So your doctor has to do a referral for a speech-language pathologist to do an evaluation. The speech-language pathologist does an evaluation to determine if the child is, until we get to adults, if the device is medically necessary for communication. They're supposed to do a few different trials of different types of communication systems to see which is best, because not everyone who is nonverbal or has limited speech is appropriate for an iPad. There are some cases when that's just not going to be appropriate for a given child. So the speech pathologist has to determine which is the best device for that child. They also have to diagnose the child with a severe communication disorder. So we have medical necessity of the device and then the diagnosis of a severe communication disorder. The speech pathologist recommends a device, whatever device that person should recommend, and an approved provider for the tablet. The iPads are not going to be obtained through Apple. They don't want to go into this area. So the iPads have to be obtained through a durable medical equipment provider, and the speech therapist doing the assessment should know that information and where you could get it. So unfortunately, there is a middleman with that. It would be great if we could just go and get one at the Apple store. Okay, so that was Mass Health, ABA, and AAC. Another section of the law problem that the Autism Commission found, and this is not news to anybody in this room, that there's added costs to living with a disability, and additional expenses or worries, and risks of losing public benefits, things like that. So ABLE accounts, which stand for Achieving a Better Life Experience, they allow the individual with a disability to save money. And this area of finance, I am not an expert in by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm just giving you the information, what we know now. So the solution was this allows the individual with a disability to save money to pay for disability-related expenses. And I'll tell you what those are in a second. So it's a tax-free savings account, and the person with the disability owns the account. It's their account. So qualified disability expenses. There's quite a list, and it's not exhaustive, but it covers things like education, transportation, assistive technology, personal care services, healthcare expenses, things like that. So there's quite a list. And there are penalties if the money from the ABLE account is used for a non-qualified expense. People qualify for an ABLE account if they receive benefits under SSI and or SSDI, or submit a disability certification, and the age of the disability occurs before 26. So what we know now is that this is an option. There are many other considerations when it comes to financial planning for your child with autism or a person with autism. So it's something that you would really want to consult with somebody who was an expert in the field of financial planning. And one thing we do now know is Massachusetts passed this law, and then shortly after that, the federal government passed the federal ABLE law, which is great. But our regulations have to be consistent with the federal law. So there's a little bit of a delay going on here. So these accounts aren't going to start up until 2017. And we know, oh gosh, there's a financial institution that was starting to handle them, and I completely forgot the name of it, Fidelity. So they're looking at developing options, and so there's some time being allocated for that to look into more details on how they're going to work. Another aspect of the omnibus law is an autism endorsement for teachers. And one of the problems that the Autism Commission found, and again, probably not a lot of news to some folks in this room, is that it's really difficult for schools to educate the increasing numbers of children with autism. Those numbers aren't going down, and it's just really difficult. Another part of the problem is in Massachusetts, for a teaching license, the teachers don't have to learn the specific skills needed to educate children with autism. And we all know that there are so many different aspects of children with autism. They're all completely different. So while special education teachers are getting educated on all kinds of stuff, and maybe some about autism, but that level of detail that's often really needed to educate a child with autism is now going to be available in the form of an autism specialty certification. So this is optional, it's not mandatory, and it's just for special ed teachers right now. It would be great if it were for regular ed teachers too, but maybe that'll come along next. We'll see if we can work on that. So it is not mandatory. The higher ed education, universities and colleges are putting classes in place, and if you're already a teacher, and if you want this endorsement, you can take the coursework so that you get this specialty certification. Some of the things that they're going to delve into in this coursework is the impact of autism on communication, verbal and nonverbal, social interactions, sensory experiences, behaviors, and then literacy and academic development. So they're going to look at all of the aspects of autism that are affect education. What we're thinking is we're probably not going to see teachers with this endorsement for another couple of years because they have to go through the program first in order to become certified. But what we're telling parents is that it makes sense to ask for somebody who has a specialty in autism at your team meetings. And we don't think there's going to be any shortage of special ed teachers who want this endorsement. All of the teachers we've ever talked to are just really, really hungry for this information. They want to learn as much as they can about autism. So it's a great opportunity. So start advocating for this in your meetings. Like I said, it's not going to happen for a couple of years, but you can still start asking for it. Just so districts hear the demand of the parents want this for their children, for their teams. Okay, so another problem that, now the next couple of ones are for adults. Another problem that the Autism Commission found was that people diagnosed with both mental illness and a developmental disability were denied eligibility from DMH, the Department of Mental Health, and DDS, the Department of Developmental Services. If a person, an adult with autism, also had a mental illness and went to the Department of Mental Health for services, that department would say, no, you have autism, you need to go to DDS. So then they would go to DDS, and DDS would say, oh, no, you need mental health services. So folks were left in this sort of no man's land, bouncing back and forth. Real problem. So the solution required the DMH and DDS to develop a plan to make sure that people with both diagnoses would get the services that they need from each department. So it was supposed to be a coordinated effort to streamline communication. The great news is that the plan that they were supposed to develop has been developed, and it's out. Our office is looking at it. We're going to analyze it and figure out, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever it is that there may be some things that there may be the need for more advocacy around. But the great part is that the plan is out, so we're going forward with this aspect of the law. One of the next problems was that this is a change in the adult eligibility criteria for DDS. So adults with autism only qualified for DDS services if they had an intellectual disability as well. So, and in that case it was defined as an IQ below 70. And I'm sure many of you people, folks with autism in your life know that there are plenty of really intelligent, highly intelligent individuals with autism, with extremely high IQs, but who can't safely cross the street, or who can't take care of their own personal hygiene, or who can't go to the grocery store and do shopping effectively. So it really left a lot of people out in the cold who needed DBS services. So now the criteria for eligibility has changed, and it's based on functional limitations. So there has to be functional limitations in order for an adult with autism to qualify. And then there's a a list of hoops that has to be jumped through for that. But just first, the definition of developmental disability is a physical or, the disability results in a substantial functional limitation and 3 or more of mobility, capacity for independent living, and economic self-sufficiency, and is likely to continue indefinitely. So folks that meet that definition, that meet that diagnostic definition, would be able to get Mass Health. We understand that in the application process, not Mass Health, DDS, sorry about that. DDS is, they don't require IQ to be submitted, but it is helpful because it helps them figure out the level and the type of services that might be needed. The types of service by DDS, there's 3 categories. There's services and supports that provide skill training and supervision, those that provide meaningful day opportunities, and there's also additional supports around behavior, home modification, assistive technology, and family training. There's a service limitation around this aspect, is that the range of services are more limited to individuals with autism, developmental disability, than folks with an intellectual disability. Right now, there are no group home or 24/7 supported apartment options for adults with autism who meet the requirements for DDS. Even though that's not in place, we're telling parents who are or individuals who are looking for that service to ask for it anyway. Likely be denied, but to keep asking for it because DDS has to kind of get the full impact of what's really needed out there. And then the last piece of the omnibus, Autism Omnibus Law, is that the Autism Commission is now permanent. It was, like I said earlier, originally established to figure out what adults and children in Massachusetts needed in terms of services and where the gaps were. Now the Autism Commission is permanent, and they're going to monitor the laws that have been established. There's and the recommendations from the Autism Commission. There's going to be an executive director and around 30-ish people on the Autism Commission. There's supposed to be a lot of opportunity for involvement. They'll probably have some focus groups is what we heard. So you can stay tuned to that if you want to be involved. And there is a website. I don't know the website off the top of my head, but there is a Autism Commission. Let's see. I think so that's all I have for you tonight. Like Diane said, we're going to do a much more extensive training. But if you have questions, more than what we can do here, if you have a lot of really specific questions, you can call our helpline. And it's at the end of your packet. But do people want the number? I can just shout it out to you if you want it. Yeah. It's 617-357.
357?
Yep. 8431.
8431.
And it's extension 224. At this time, you will not get a live person. You'll have to leave a message. Somebody will get back to you. Or you can fill out, there's a form on our website, and you can send your questions or concerns through email. And this is for anything around special education and autism. But especially for the omnibus law, there are some folks in our department that are pretty knowledgeable about it and have more details.
Well, what's the extension?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's 224. Yep, it is 617-357-8431, extension 224. Does anybody have any questions? I'm not sure I'll have the answers because, like I said, a lot of this is sort of in the beginning and the regs aren't done for everything, but I'll try to answer questions if you have any.
Mm-hmm. Is the DMH DDS thing straightened out now, or is that still?
They've put together the plan, And like I said, it's hot off the press. It will start, but I don't think it's ready quite yet. But stay tuned, because, and that's another question, if you want to keep, you can always call our office and we'll figure out some dates for you. I'm sure somebody in the office knows more specific information.
So, for the ADA being covered under Mass Health, does that include, after-school hours as well? So for ABA therapists to either go into an after-school program or into a home, or is it strictly for more schools?
Good question. It's not for school,
So
it's home.
home.
Yeah.
But could those ABA therapists, because I work with some ABA therapists who actually go to after-school programs, so then the kids can go to an after-school program and access it with the support?
I believe so. I don't think it's just for home. It's a covered service. There's probably a lot of restrictions around it, and that, I can find out for you. That's a really good question, but it's definitely, and also too, there's not supposed to be any consideration in an IEP development if a parent has health insurance that covers ABA. Did that make sense? If you get ABA through your insurance, the school can't consider that when they're developing the IEP. Those are two separate things. And also, I should mention, if you do, there is a thing called municipal Medicaid, and I'm not really well versed in this, but my understanding is that schools get, do you ever so often, you get the letter that asks you if you would give permission to let the school bill Mass Health? Anybody get that letter? Parents get it. It's okay. Sign it. A lot of parents get worried. It doesn't affect your benefits, your child's benefits. But what it does is it allows the schools to be reimbursed for the service that they provide. Our understanding is that in order for that to happen, schools have to have the ABA services listed in the service delivery grid. I don't know what Boston does, but some schools don't put it in the service delivery grid. They might put it in additional information. So we're letting folks know that in order for reimbursement, it has to be in the service delivery grid. Any other questions?
Kind of,
That's okay, go ahead.
I was kind of piggybacking off of her question. Well, not just after school, but during class, because I know with the least school, what's supposed to happen is that even though the child is after second grade, they're supposed to transition into where they would have someone chaperoning them while they go into the actual third grade, and they join the regular class.
Okay.
They're no longer considered part of the special education. They're in an actual regular classroom with students who aren't who are not on the autistic spectrum. But they're supposed to have a chaperone with them to help them navigate the area. Is that something that we cover?
No, that's something different. When it depends on the individual child, what the needs are, but what it sounds like you're describing, and I don't know the specifics of your schools, but it sounds like you're talking about a child with autism in a self-contained classroom with just kids with autism who's moving into an integrated setting with kids with disabilities and typically developing kids. In that case, no.
Regular class.
Okay, so, and if a child goes into a regular classroom and they have autism, they're likely still on an IEP. It's an individual decision that the team makes, but they're still on an IEP and they're still part of special education. Well, generally speaking, and like I said, it's different for each kid depending on what the needs are. But the chaperone that you're talking about is usually an aide or a paraprofessional that will go in and assist the child integrate into the classroom, and that is a decision that's made by the team, and that's totally separate from Mass Health, ABA, anything like that. But that's a team decision. Any question?
My question is regarding about if you have personal insurance, but myself says you are unqualified. I mean, but you still have autism child.
Yeah.
Even though your insurance is not covering. Yeah, but I don't know what's the qualification.
So the question is, if you have private insurance and you want Mass Health, the question is about Mass Health denying you coverage because you have that sort of, what I know, and there might be other people here that are really knowledgeable in this area, but if you have a child with a disability, you can get Mass Health. So you have to really make sure that you're applying for it with the child with a disability. So you can have your regular insurance, and then you can have Mass Health as a secondary insurance. But I think, does anybody know better than? But you definitely can do that. So you should check into your paperwork and make sure that whatever it is that you're filling out is very specific when it comes to making sure the form talks about the child with a disability. That's really specific. If you don't say that, then they may deny you.
You can have it separate. You can have it. You can have your own personal insurance, but you can have it for your child, specifically not have Mass Health cover your child.
Yes. Exactly. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No, not yet. I'm just going to introduce it first.
Kristen is on our board, Kristen Mackey, and she's going to show us an app.
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm a volunteer. I'm on the board. I'm also a parent of 2 boys. My oldest son has autism. He is 12, turning 15. And I'm really tired tonight. And the reason I'm tired is because my son couldn't go to sleep last night because of the wind, right? Yes. And then he woke up when he finally fell asleep because of the thunder. So we were up all night. And then he woke up his younger brother. And I was exhausted. But I think that I was really lucky last night because I know why he was awake. And a lot of times when we have severe sleeping problems in my house, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know why he's awake, and there's nothing that I can do to help him. So I'm really psyched because I have learned about this. It's a website, and it has an app that goes with it, and it empowers parents and caregivers because it allows you to track behaviors, track food, track toileting, track all of these things that just become overwhelming, and after a while you're not really sure like what's the cause of what, and you know, it gives you the information and puts it in a nice way that you can share it with other people, and you know you can have more power over how to parent and how to help your children. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you this video that just introduces the app and the website and the reason for it, and then I just want to do a quick little walkthrough and show you how I use it, and maybe it's something that you can use. It's free. There is a premium version if you need to do other things like share it with multiple caregivers and stuff like that, but I just use the free version and I find that it works perfectly fine. And you can just use the web version. You can use it on your phone, like when you're in the doctor's office and he's having a meltdown and you're like, I don't want to forget what triggered this, and you can just make a little note and it will automatically go to the website, and then you can export it and send it to doctors, and it really is, I think it's a game changer, honestly. So I just wanted to show you the little video. Hopefully the sound will work.
Try pushing out that way too. You guys played it before?
Yeah, I haven't played it here tonight, but I've played it before. Well, while he's doing that, what I can show you is I can show you the app, and it just has very basic, it's got a very basic layout, so you can have one child or you can have more than one child on there. I have my son on here, and then it's just got a list of activities, and you can add an activity. You can add an activity like food. He had muffins for breakfast, and then I realized that he wasn't feeling very well later on in the day. So you just have that as a trigger, like you know that, okay, maybe it was the muffins, maybe it was something else. You can add sleep, when he went to sleep, when he woke up. Sensory things. My son runs laps around the house, and sometimes he does it for 20 minutes a day, sometimes he does it for an hour a day. And for the longest time, I had no idea why he was doing it. We would try and stop him from doing it. And then I realized that he needs to organize himself. So by tracking how long he's running his laps, or if there are days when he's not doing it, I can figure out, oh, well, you know, there was a full moon last night, or, you know, there is a thunderstorm coming up, or, you know, he watched a show and got agitated or something. But it gives you all of the tools that you need so you can focus on your children. And the free version allows you to, I don't think it, okay, so this is on here. This is the web version. So if you have the free version, this is just on the go. You can enter it if you want to. You don't have to, but if, you know, you're in the doctor's office, or if you just have a few moments in the car that you want to put something in and you can't get to your computer, it automatically goes here and it tracks here. So, you know, today I had his IAP meeting. I wanted to write that as a note. He was running laps this morning at 7:30. He was agitated from the storm last night. He had, you know, breakfast. So you can add in whatever you want. You can add in, for the free version, you can add in one person to share it with. So maybe it's your partner, or maybe it's a daycare worker or a caregiver or something. So you can track medicine. So you can say, I gave him his dose of medicine this morning. I'm not going to be home. You want to make sure that the caregiver is going to do that as well. So it helps you collaborate with other people who are in your child's life. And it just gives you the freedom that you don't have to worry that something's going to slip through the cracks, and that your child is not going to get the services and the support that you think that he or she needs. So, I don't know.
Yeah. If you want, I'll try again.
While we're doing that, does anybody have any initial questions about it? I've been using it for a few weeks, and I use it very simply. My son, you know, the things that I'm focusing on right now are the sensory activities and sleep for us. But when he was younger, I would have used it for food. I would have used it for the medicine that we were giving him. I would have used it for toileting, stuff like that. So I think that it is helpful for me. So some of you may find that it's helpful for you
What
as
is
well.
the website?
The website is called Birdhouse for Autism. There's also a version, it's Birdhouse, and there's two apps. The original one was Birdhouse for Autism, but it doesn't need to be used for autism. So they have a version that's Birdhouse for special needs. And it can be used for, I mean, it doesn't have to be a child with special needs. If you want to track your child's diet, or if you want to track an adult who may have Alzheimer's or something, like, it works for that as well. So Birdhouse for Autism is what you can Google and come up with the apps.
Does it track one at a time, or does it, can you track multiple children?
You can track multiple children, but with the free version, you can only share with one other person. So whether it be your partner or a doctor or an ABA therapist or something. But if you decided that, like, if I had had this when James was maybe 5, 6, 7 years old, I probably would have paid the premium version for a little while, just so I could, he had OT, he had his GI doctor, he had all of these different things, and I was so overwhelmed I couldn't even keep any of it straight. You know, like, sometimes you're like, did he sleep last night or did he not, or what was that the other, you know, like, it's hard to, it's really hard when you have all this stuff going on, and then you feel like you're not parenting well enough, and it's, you know, who needs that? Like, get something off our plate so we can focus on our kids.
Story of people who overcome odds, contribute to their community, or simply live their lives to inspire others. Welcome to the heart of Detroit. Autistic children are both a blessing and a challenge. Danielle Gilman, mother of 9-year-old Brody, quickly discovered her biggest challenge.
Sorry. Come on.
Challenge was keeping information organized.
How she was reacting to different treatments or different supplements or medications, how how a certain amount of sleep would affect her mood and behavior, or diet.
When I came into their lives, Danny was taking these notes, as she was saying, and she had been using paper notebooks, and I was thinking, you're tech savvy. You use an iPhone, you use computers.
2 years ago, they created Birdhouse for Autism, an app that lets families chart everything from medications to behavior patterns to
behaviors and meltdowns and any circumstances surrounding a meltdown, so that I can over time be able to understand and see patterns.
Sharing those sorts of details can be critical for proper diagnosis and for a sense of order in often chaotic home lives, a reason the Birdhouse for Autism is now being used by families around America and several foreign countries.
We just got a family in Finland who signed up and offered to translate our website into Finnish.
Having a child with autism can feel very isolating, so being able to connect with a network of people going through the same experience has been invaluable for me.
Our goal isn't to find a cure or even to find a reason. And our goal isn't even to say whether it's good or bad. Our goal is to say, okay, well, you are living with autism now, it's in your family, and how can we give you the tools that you need to succeed?
Using technology to provide those tools, Danny, Ben, and Birdhouse for Autism are making a challenging life a bit easier for others around the world and here in the heart of Detroit.
Okay, so that was actually when it first was launched. It was a few years ago. And since then, I think the developers told me they have about 10,000 families using it. And they're winning all sorts of special needs apps awards and stuff. But one of the things that I really like about it is that when you enter something, yeah, you can leave it there. When you enter something, a little note might pop up and say, do you want more information about that? Or is there anything else that we can help you track or something like that? And what they want is they want for parents to give them feedback. So they want the users to say, you know, this is working okay, but it would really work for my child if you had this. And they want to take all of that feedback and continually make the app better. And it's not one of those apps that you go and you download and you're having trouble with it and you can't reach anybody or something. They're actually there, and they answer all of their emails, and they want feedback from parents like you. They are parents like us, and they just want to make it easier for everybody. So I find it useful. Like maybe you might have friends who might find it useful, so I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And one last thing, I know this has been long. Cindy Nielsen, the Assistant Superintendent for Special Education for Boston Public Schools, has something she wanted to.
And what's our next month meeting?
Okay. So while we wait for Cindy to come up, our next month is going to be for our general meeting is focused on transition services. So transition services focuses on kids who are ages 14 up to the age of 22. And transition is an actual law and something that should be happening in the school. So we really, we're going to focus this meeting on educating parents on what the law is and things that you should be asking for in school, and also things that you would be doing with your kids outside of school in the community. So that's next month, and we don't have the date yet, but we'll send that out.
We do actually.
We'll look up the date before you leave.
Yeah.
Was that the one that I was told was on Saturday?
No, that's mine.
That's, okay, no, that one is in April on Saturday, but it's the same, it's similar thing, ours is just condensed. So.
Hi everyone, I'll be really quick. My name again is Cindy Nielsen. I'm the Interim Assistant Superintendent for Special Education. I'm here every month with colleagues of mine so we can take individual concerns that you might have for your students. What I'm here to ask you for tonight is, so IDEA is a federal law that governs special education for the nation, and then we also have state laws that also govern the work that we do within BPS to make sure that your students are getting the services that they need. Every year we are, the state's asked to report indicators to the federal government, and we as a district are asked to report indicators to the state government. It's called Indicator 8, and that's our parent survey. The state puts out a survey to parents every year and asks that you respond back just to the school. I think it's to the school district and also maybe to your school. But we're asking that if you have time and you have access to the internet and you're able to do this, that'd be really helpful for us to get the feedback All the feedback on here is anonymous, but also any feedback that we get is going to be helpful in making sure that the programs get better for our students. So please, if you have some time to do this, the deadline is April 1st, so you have a little bit of time now. I have these forms you can take home with you. It's a form that tells you, it's from the state that tells you, asking you what they need, and then on the back some frequently asked questions. So I have them in English, but I also have them in Haitian Creole, Portuguese, Spanish, and Vietnamese, if you needed them in those, okay? So if you could take one of these on your way out, that'd be great. If we run out, I'm sorry, I'll bring some for next time. These are the English ones, and I'll get if you need another language, please let me know, and I have them with me in the bag.
It's in the survey you filled out is actually on the internet.
Yes, it's on the internet, and the survey on the internet is in different languages as well. If you need another language, it'll be on another language on the internet when you go to do it. But that website's on the sheet, so if you can take one on the way out, that'd be great.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
And the meeting is March 31st.
March 31st.
Where?
Here.
Here, same place.
Same place, 7 o'clock.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. If anybody wants to see the applicant, take a look at my phone.
So when I'm collecting these from,
Appreciate them.